I think is very important. Whenever a person can feel stuck, and I'm speaking from my experience, I noticed that I'm in a groove that no longer suits me or is no longer aligned with where I'm set to go. Okay,
Yeah.
so for example, the Juice Dreams things. While it was great, like I started during COVID, yet at the same time I was like, I'm here to do some different things, and it's time to move into something different. And it was like, dude, it was different, like getting into some different stuff, like going back to full-time work and like doing more like a consulting and the mentoring thing. Like it was like switching a gear, and it was also stepping into a fear of an unknown, because I was like, can I still do this?
Yeah.
Can this happen? Oh man, welcome back. Welcome back to this. Welcome back to this More Than Black and White. This is Paul and Brian.
What's up,
Hey, how you
everyone?
doing today, bro?
Dude, feeling great, man. Feeling good. I got a lot accomplished today, man. Little things like bullshit. Like, put a new light in my car, clean the house up, organize some stuff, just getting ready for a trip this next weekend. So ready, just doing some stuff ready. Getting
My
some stuff ready.
guy. My
Lining up the
guy.
ducks, man.
What's that?
Lining up the ducks.
Oh, I thought you said rubbing up the ducks. I was like, was that a
Yeah.
task?
What is
Was that a
that? I
task?
don't, yeah.
Yeah, like, come on,
You're a
ducks.
sick man, Paul. You're a
I
sick
am
man.
very sick.
Yeah.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Don't change,
Hey,
man.
listen, man. Never, 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 man. So B, man, we got a topic today that I think is going to be relevant for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
A lot of folks.
Everyone. At one point
You
in their
know,
life, everyone, man, right?
yeah.
What's
And
this
now,
topic? What's this topic about, Paul?
well, I'm glad you asked, Brian. It's feeling stuck. Okay, feeling
Hmm.
stuck. What? Yes, feeling stuck. I think, man. Listen, I think we like this. I think you came up with this one, man. And I think it was like when you sent a text, we were going back and forth. We were like, "Hey, man, what's the next topic?" And I said something, and then you wrote back, "Feeling stuck." And I'm recalling like when I read it, I was like, "Oh, what a great topic, man."
Yeah, I was trying to think of topics that like I've had struggles with in the past myself, and things I implemented to
Mm,
get out of that feeling. Because we all feel stuck. We all feel lost sometimes.
yeah,
Whether it be like a big career change or a relationship or breaks off or something like that, and you're kind of like, all right, what now? And even if everything is going good, even my example, everything was going good, I just felt empty. I felt anxious. You
mm,
know, I felt that there was more to what I should be doing, and I'm not fulfilling my purpose here.
yeah.
And that kind of started making you anxious, as we'll kind of discuss later.
Mm.
So hopefully, some of the gems that Paul and I kind of throw your way will have a flick a switch on, a light bulb will go off, and you can start feeling unstuck, or you can give advice to people in your that loved ones that are feel stuck.
Yeah. Oh man, B. Thank you for that, man. Um, I'm just like as we're talking, I'm called to invite people that are listening slash watching this. Close your eyes and bring yourself back to a moment when you experienced being stuck, or you thought you were stuck. What were your thoughts? What were the feelings you had going on in your body? What were the sensations? And what were the circumstances?
Hmm.
Okay. If you have a pen and paper, write those down. And Brian, you mentioned some of those experiences, like being stuck, like, relationship, career, whatever it is, man. I
Yeah.
think everyone can relate to this on a very high level. I'm thinking that. So be like, when we think about like being stuck, I'd like for us to share like what an experience when we were stuck, and then I want to talk about some of the like we talked in the prep about the law of facilitation.
Mm,
So I like I'll kick it off. Um, yeah, so let's talk about being stuck and then the law of facilitation. So I experienced being stuck when actually the more recent one was when I had a juice business, and I loved making juices. It was fun. I also love like I think like looking back on it, I loved like the accolades, like, oh man, this juice is great, like, oh man, like, and then like being able to make the logos and the labels and like creating the juices. And I started getting stuck when I was looking at finances and the stretch of production. And I started feeling or experiencing like this like anxiety of like I want to do this, yet like this is slowly beating me up. And I was like confused about like, is it the pricing? And actually, B, you were helping me out with this too when when you were going over, we were going. I'm trying to remember the you were teaching me about having different accounts like for the taxes, for
yeah,
production.
profit
And
first.
yeah, profit first.
By
Yes,
the
I
way,
still have
where's
that.
my book, man?
Hey man, listen, let's stay on topic. Let's stay on topic, okay? So I do. Yo, I have like that's one of the three books I have of yours. I do have them. By the way, if
All
there's
right.
any library costs with this, like let me work out a
Yeah, you
finance.
got late fees, man. You got late fees.
Yeah, I do. I can only imagine what my late my late fees look like right now. Well, holy shit.
Uh,
So dude, so I remember when we were going over the profit first, and I was like, "Yo, man, I'm barely having money to take care of this, man." And I remember having this feeling of I created this situation in my life, and I have no idea how to get out of it. And I was like going through I was going through a lot of anxiety and stress. My blood pressure was lifted a little bit. Um, And I just remember it was such a dismal feeling, man. Even though I was bringing people a lot of joy and making the juices, and I actually decided it was time to pause on the juices because I was putting a lot of Reiki energy in the juices. I was like, it's tough for me to do that if I'm experiencing this. So that was one I would say this is my most recent experience of being stuck.
yeah.
So B, what was it for you, man?
Probably latest one. I mean, I love being an entrepreneur. I love figuring out different ways to start businesses. I became more efficient with getting unstuck. I think the biggest thing with people is when they feel stuck, they know they need to make a change, but they don't because they're scared of the unknown. You know what I mean? So I become better at that. We'll talk a little bit about the hero's journey later.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of putting it out there and making myself vulnerable and taking chances, knowing that at the end of the day, it's all going to work out regardless. You either lose or you learn something about yourself. Or you either win or you learn something about yourself. You don't lose, right?
Yep.
I forgot who said that quote, but probably when I felt like the most stuck was when I came back from Florida and I was doing an assistant manager position over at Lifetime. And my goal was like, I love the fitness field. I'll always be in the fitness field, even if like all I do is YouTube videos at I
Yeah.
still want to be in the field. I find it so fascinating. And I was working like, man, 70, 80 hours a week, grinding. And that never bothered me working that many hours, and I was making good money at the time. I was probably pulling in six figures. I had a great girlfriend at the time. Everything was going good.
Yeah.
But I just felt empty all the time. Like I felt like there was more than just working in a concrete building 70 hours a week or whatever I was doing there, and just kind of not pushing sales on people, but like trying to sell packages. And that was my main thing. It was a lot of pressure, and it's a love hate relationship you have there in corporate America. As long as you're doing good, they love you, and if they not, the door is going to hit you in the ass on the way out. So I
Bye
felt like
bye.
there was more that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I wound up taking a course. Actually, one of my friends, she lives out in Florida, and when I lived down in Florida, we kind of connected up, and she was a big Czech person too. And Czech has this course called PPS Success, which is personal, professional, spiritual. And it's 10 courses you can take. In the first course I took was, what is your dream? What is your goal? Like, if you don't have a dream and you don't have a goal, you don't know where you're going, you know? So, and one of the things, like, what do you want? And for me, it was like I made a list of all the things, like, monetarily that I wanted, and it
Mm-hmm.
equal to be about, you say, $250,000 a year, which is not really a lot. If you say, one of my things, like, I want to take, 4 vacations a year for 2 weeks. I want to have a nice car. I want to have a $1 million house. I want to have, one splurge and take a private jet somewhere with my friends. And honestly, all that money was like $250,000 a year, which is not a lot of money. For me, I didn't need to make millions of dollars, which I thought I did. But not more importantly was, like, I started breaking down my goals, and I was like, not only, like, what do I want monetarily, but what kind of people do I want to have in my life? What kind of
Mm-hmm.
values do I, and morals and ethics do I want from people to attract towards me? What do I feel that way? What do I want out of a significant other? What type of climate do I want to be in? Do I want to be in a small business, or do I want to be in a huge corporate business? So I started, like, putting this, like, mandala together. Actually, I drew it. It was actually very interesting. I got to show you one day.
Yeah.
And like a light bulb switched off my head. It was like I just meditated on it, and I was like, I love Lifetime. I still love Lifetime. I think it's a great place, but for what I want out of my life, Lifetime cannot give me that. It cannot give me that.
Right.
So I started getting into building outside businesses.
Yeah.
I still work my ass off at Lifetime, but I found more enjoyment working in Lifetime because I was starting another side business that I was passionate about. So as my side
Mm-hmm.
business started picking up, I started cutting back a little bit with Lifetime, and now I'm, like, down here part time, maybe 10 sessions a week. I teach a couple classes because I go there to just chill with people and relax. Like, it clears my mind. And so now I make, way more money outside of my other businesses than I do at Lifetime. I don't need that, and I'm happy with it. My
Right.
flexibility is great. Like, last year and a half, I've probably visited 20 countries. Like, I come and go as I please, and I'm just like, but I still hustle. Like, I work a lot,
Mm.
but I try
Yeah.
to work more efficient. So that's basically the last time I felt stuck. But I really have to, like, kind of take a look in
Right.
and go on that hero's journey a little bit, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah, man. Thank you for that. I wanted us to share those things because I want the people that are listening and watching to get a good idea of the different paths of being stuck, man, and
Mm.
the ways that we get out of it. And now that, especially in alignment, that if you had the opportunity to write down like where you were stuck or what that experience was like for you, thank you for doing that activity and thank you for hearing our experiences. And I think something that's important to note is, for both of us, so what I'm hearing is that we were both on like a path, like, okay, like we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, and it's just like step, step, step,
Hmm.
step, step, and it's just like, where are these steps going?
Yeah.
Like, where are they going? And
Yeah.
I think that's a piece. And I appreciate what I heard you say, especially when you talked about the mandala. I think for getting unstuck, it's very, it's like overall what you did is doing something different, right? Like, for both of us, because like for me, I'm getting better at it, but I'm very resistant to asking for help.
Oh
So
yeah,
even when
me
you
too.
offered, when you were like, "Yo, Paul, I want to help you out," I was like,
Hmm. It's tough.
"Okay,
It's tough.
sure." I think it took me weeks to actually get like ask you and like, hey, bro, like, yo, bro,
Yeah, you were
listen.
pretty annoying about it, man.
I
Yeah,
was, I
yeah.
was, I was. You were like, hey, Paul, I can help you. I was like, yeah,
I need help. I need help, but I'm not
yeah.
gonna tell you when we can get together. Like, I'm tired of you to
Yo,
stop, telling me, like, we need to get this working. Let's go.
yeah, dude, man, yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, and it was, and I tell you, that was an eye opener for me, man, because like it helped me understand, like, yo, and I think that's like looking back on it, I think that's one of the reasons I was procrastinating so much to actually get help from you, because I had a feeling it was like, yo, man, I don't know if I want to see what he's about to show me. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And like you said it, like, there's this fear of the unknown, because I knew, Brian, I knew something deep down was off, man. And at the same time, I was resistant to facing it. So with that said, I want to go into this law of facilitation, because when we were talking about that in the prep, I just thought it was so freaking cool, and I think it's going to be helpful in alignment with what we're talking about later in the episode. So can you give us a breakdown of that law of facilitation, like how you gave to me?
Yeah, so there's two ways you can do it. You can do it like in the physical form with like personal training. I use this a lot with training clients. So, for example, like if somebody wants to, so I guess I'll give you the definition of law of facilitation. So, basically, the law of facilitation says when an impulse passes once through a given set of neurons to the exclusion of others, it tends to do so on future occasions. And each time it traverses this path, the resistance will be smaller. So, in English, what does that mean? That means like basically the first time you tie a shoe,
Right.
first time you tie a shoe, you have to think about it, right?
Yeah.
And then after about maybe 10 or 20 times you do it, it becomes normal for you. And
Right.
so you can just do it now. You can do it easily. So
Right.
like when a lot of clients, they used to, or when I used to do like initial like onboarding sessions with people at the gym, one of the excuses are, oh, like, I want to work out first. I want to get in shape and do things on my own before I meet with you. I'm like, listen, I was like, let me tell you about the law of facilitation. Like, I'm going to break this down. Like, you do whatever you want, but if you start going out there and you start having bad form squatting or benching or doing whatever you're doing, it takes about maybe, I think it's like 100 repetitions to actually create a neural pathway for you to recognize a movement. But if you do it wrong, it takes me 5,000 repetitions to undo it. So you can either pay me a little now for me to show you how to do it, or you can just pay me a shit ton more money later for me to undo what you're doing. So like one of my good friends of mine, he was in the military, and he's like, by far, women are always the best shot compared to any men by far. A
What do
big
you mean?
portion of this, like they can shoot better than any man.
Oh,
They
oh,
can
like a gun. Okay,
like a
gotcha.
gun,
Yeah.
yeah. Like they'll hit a bullseye. They'll know how to, they'll work the form because they say most guys that go into the military and they have this like John Wayne syndrome. So they've been practicing with their buddies and their form is all off. And a woman usually goes in there and most of them either they never shot a gun before or they've been taught by somebody that knows how to shoot a gun. So they go in there with either no, it's the best. Actually, if you have somebody that's never shot a gun, it's so much easier to teach somebody that's been shooting a gun wrong for 20 years or 15 years or whatever, because you got to undo all this. So basically, that's like the law of facilitation
Yeah.
on a physical level, but it also goes down into like a mental level. So we talk about anywhere from between the ages of the first 6 or 7 years of our lives, right?
Mhm.
Everything that we sense, we feel, we hear, it gets kind of programmed into our root chakra, and that becomes you throughout the rest of your life. That's your personality throughout the rest of your life, unless you decide to make a conscious change and want to fix that. And the reason for that is because we don't have any sense of ego at that age. We don't have enough capacity to, or abstract thought or discernment to know whether or not what your mom or your dad or your friends are telling you is actually the truth, because you have nothing to compare it to, right? So we get imprinted with all these ideas and beliefs about ourselves in those ideas. And the older we get and the longer these ideas have been instilled in us, it just kind of, that's a law of facilitation. You automatically just kind of keep going through those neural clusters and that network of neurons. And that's just the type of person you are.
Yeah.
And if you need to change it, that's how we were talking about a little yesterday. To make change, it's very taxing on the body. You need to have a lot of energy to go back and change that over again, because you have to think. So like Paul, like we go back to this like situation with the tying shoelaces. If I told you, Paul, untie your shoelace now, I want you to tie it differently than you've ever tied it before. You actually got to think. All right,
Yeah.
how can I do this differently? And you might sit there for a minute and maybe figure out a different way how to do it, and it's actually taxing on the nervous system. So you need to have good energy for it. So like one of the things, like when you want change, like that's great, you want change, but like you better be doing things in your life to set up a great foundation. Like your sleep better be good, man. Your nutrition better be on point. Your water intake better be on point. The quality of foods, your thoughts. Like you better
Yeah.
start meditating, like for you to make an impactful change, and actually not even stay, not even like start the change process, but stay with it.
Yeah.
Big difference
Yeah.
between motivation and discipline, right?
Yeah.
So,
So it's funny, man, when you talk about this tying the shoelace. So one of these I think it was Dr. Joe Dispenza.
hmm
I was watching an interview and he was like, if you want to start changing stuff, when you wake up in the morning, brush your teeth with the non-dominant hand. And I was like, hmm. So I
hmm
remember the first day I did, I was like,
picking his eye.
yeah, I was like, my eye. I was over my nostril and shit.
Yeah.
And it was like, but I was like, oh my God. Like, I had to really think about it and I had to fight the urge
hmm
to want to just, and like, I actually did it. I was like, no, no,
Yeah.
brush with the
hmm
left, take
Yeah.
your time. And I noticed how I had to, the stuff that my right would just automatically do. Okay,
hmm
get the lower left, get the upper left, all this stuff. It was like it was an instant groove, like you talked about. When I did it with my left hand, it was like, okay, get your lower right, inside, top, outside. And I was like, it
You,
took me like
you have
literally,
911 on speed dial. You have the defibrillator next to you just in case.
yo, bro. I felt that way. I was like, I'm having a stroke. But I was like, what the heck is happening, man? But I recognized, just like we talked about, right? It's like
Mhm.
it takes energy, it
Yeah.
takes presence, it
Yeah.
takes thought, it takes patience to be able to move into something different. Because it was a great example, man, of being able to get out of feeling stuck. And I got to tell you, the rest of the day, I'm going to be free of saying I do this every day, but like whenever I think, like, especially when I wake up and I'm groggy, or like I've had some funky dreams, which I've been having lately, I'll brush my teeth with my non-dominant hand,
Mm.
because it helps me to just like kind of like, all right, like I'm up, okay,
Yeah.
it's. And so the reason why I bring that up is because I think it's very important whenever a person can feel stuck, and I'm speaking from my experience. I noticed that I'm in a groove that no longer suits me or is no longer aligned with where I'm set to go. Okay.
Yeah.
So for example, the Juice Dreams things, while it was great, like I started during COVID, yet at the same time I was like, I'm here to do some different things. And it's
Yeah.
time to move into something different. And it was like, dude, it was different, like getting into some different stuff, like going back to full-time work and like doing more like a consulting and the mentoring thing. Like it was like switching a gear, and it was also stepping into a fear of an unknown, because I was like, can I still do this?
Yeah.
Can this happen? And we talked about one of the things, like especially like with the fear of an unknown, is that feeling of being unstuck. Be like, so when you talk about especially the law of facilitation, like what do you sense is like one of the key ways of helping someone like move past the stuckness, or move into it and through it?
It goes back to finding what that person is like. We said this in past videos. Like everyone is put on this. Like you're here, Paul, with your specific personality, your traits. There's something you can do better than anyone else has ever done before, is doing, or will do. Like
True
you got
words.
one chance at this.
Yeah.
And when you feel like you're getting stuck, it's like you're not going in the right direction. You're not going towards your purpose here on this planet.
Right.
Your GPS coordinates are all out of whack. And one of the first things people do is when you feel stuck and you feel like you just decide to kind of stay in the motions because it's the safe play, the first thing that comes up is anxiety. The
Mm,
second thing that usually comes after that is depression. And
mm,
the third thing is usually, it sucks, but it's most of it, sometimes it's suicide. And if you decide not to do the suicide approach, this is where addictions start coming into play, because you need to source that energy somehow. You need to kind of release that energy. And it could be from like, biting your fingernails to, picking at your skin, to having OCD issues, to all of a sudden like have like a gambling addiction or workout addiction. We see this all the time. Or just becoming like, pornography, or getting into like just becoming a workaholic. You have
Yep.
some kind of addiction in there. And
Yeah.
then we kind of talked about this yesterday. Like, somebody has like a pornography addiction, and then I want to start getting in the relationship, and the significant other realizes this, and like, I don't want you to do this at all, you know, with whatever, and that person's like, fine, I won't do it. But
Right.
it's not like the addiction goes away. It just gets converted into another addiction, So basically, the foundation, the root cause of all these issues is not living your life's purpose, is not living your
Mm.
life's journey that you put here.
Mm.
But what happens when you go to the doctor with anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, addiction issues? Here,
His
pop
pill.
this pill, pop this pill, pop this pill. You know, And so when people ask me
Oh,
like, "What do I do?" Like, I don't know. That's I'll tell you the blueprint to get to that point, but I don't know what you should be doing. Only you can answer that question.
dude.
And a lot of the time, the only way you can answer that question is to still the mind. I've really been getting more of meditation in the last probably like a good year and a half. Ever since I started doing plant medicine ceremonies,
Mm-hmm.
really taught me to quiet the mind and just kind of listen to the heart, and just like it really guides me. Really, like you know, it's
Yeah, by the way,
yeah,
Power of the Heart episode, I think that's
yeah,
8. Shameless plug.
hmm
Go
yeah, man.
watch that. Listen, so dude, I wanna pause for a second because you said a lot there, bud. Especially when it comes to to the stuck experience when you talked about the anxiety, depression, suicide, and addiction. Something that, and you talked when you spoke about the GPS, I think is so relevant to this conversation because it's like if someone's stuck, like let's look at like we're talking about it in this life sense. If I'm stuck somewhere, like in my car, stuck, and I don't know where to go, I don't know what to do, I don't have AAA, I'm going to begin to get anxious. Like I'm gonna want to do something and I have nothing to do. Then it goes into that space of like it can be a slippery slope and that slide right into like I'm in a depressed state. I'm depressed. Like,
Mhm.
oh, I made this happen to myself. I got no resources. I got no money. I got no one I could call, which may be far from the truth, but again, it's gonna slide down into that depressed state. Then it's like I gotta feel good or I gotta get out of this, which is what you were saying with the suicidal ideation and
Yeah,
suicidal tendencies. It's like, I'm done. I'm like, why am I even here? Or like, I gotta feel good, baby. I gotta feel good. So there's a lot of stuff I think is very important for people to understand. What level of stuck are you in?
yeah,
Because are you in the anxious? Are you in the anxious area where it's just like, oh man, like I just feel odd? Are you in the depressed area where it's just like, what am I doing with my life?
yeah.
Or am I in that area where it's just like, yo, man, yo, where's Wendy's at? Yo, can I get some? Let me get that eighth of fucking the good sativa, son. Like, or whatever. It could be like, yo, put on Pornhub, or just like this thing I need to help me feel good, rather than the thing I need to help me move forward.
Yeah,
People, please understand this. It's like it's human to experience being stuck because it's easy for us to get into a groove or a tendency of doing a certain thing a certain way. We're creatures of habit. Okay, we like efficiency. Our brain likes efficiency because if it feels like, especially if it's like, oh my god, there's a threat, you're going to be in your limbic system and you're going to heighten your anxiety.
yeah,
But if you start looking at, like Brian was talking about, okay, I'm gonna take a step away from this, or I'm gonna get help to see this in a different way. Now all of a sudden I'm more in my executive brain. I can find a solution. I can see, okay, oh, this is the reason I'm stuck. Okay, let me tweak this. Okay, this is gonna take some work and effort though,
hmm
and let me move into it and past it. And this is very important because, B, have you ever heard this term called the dark night of the soul?
yeah. You actually, I heard it from you.
Yeah, dude, I
Yeah,
didn't know what the fuck it was, but no, I'm just playing.
you just
But
sounded
like,
really confident when you were saying it, so I believed
I
you.
I did, didn't I? But no, seriously, because like I remember we were talking about it because like I've experienced those several times, like
What is
and
it?
and
Explain it.
it's yeah. So basically, the dark night of the soul is when you're in a deep, dark place, right? And what I mean by that is there seems like no way out. It seems like everything you've done is just wrong, and it's like, and you're in like the depths of your despair and sadness.
Mm.
Okay, and it's like, it's, I guess it could be said like, I don't know if it's like a combination of like being depressed, suicidal, and like, and what it is energetically, it's basically, there's a part of you, there's an energetic in you that's ready to pass on. There's an energetic in, I'm going to speak for me when I've had it. There was a part of me that was ready to be put down, ready to die.
Mm.
And the dark night of the soul is being resistant to letting it go. Because whenever someone could be in that space, and then they can help someone get, and then they can help themselves or get help to get out of it, then they realize that on the other side is the light.
Yeah.
Like, and everyone's gonna go through it. Like, listen, I went through it when I went through my divorce. Like, I was separated. Like, I was like, shit, man, I didn't think I wouldn't see my kid like this. I didn't think I'd be broke like this. And it just seemed like, Brian, I'm every decision that I made up until that point was the wrong one.
Yeah.
And I was just in this place like, yo, why am I even here?
Yeah.
Like,
And I think like it's well, while you're going through it, the pain sucks. But
yeah,
the pain teacher is one of your best friends. And
ah,
everything like we talked to, everything that I've been through negative in my life, I look back, I'm like, thank you, pain teacher. Like I wouldn't be where I am now because it set me up for something bigger and better, and it put me back on my path. And like we talked about, like like one of my goals is just like for success is just being happy and at peace. And when I kind of break through that pain teacher, like that's what I feel. I just feel like total peace, and I'm like on the right path.
mm-hmm, bruh. And this, and this goes into, this is a big part of the hero's journey, bro.
Yeah.
And especially when you talk about pain teacher, I wanna really talk to this point of, there was so for those that are like, what are these guys talking about, the hero's journey? What is this? What are
Hmm.
you talking about? So listen, here's what it is. So the hero's journey is basically by Joseph Campbell. And what may have had me remind me about this when you talked about him, when you brought him up yesterday in the prep call. So Joseph Campbell, I guess he's a philosopher.
Yes.
So he pulled together this the philosophy of the hero's journey, and it's basically these stages of of a phase of a person's life where they realize that something is wrong, or they realize that there's something else, and they move through the threshold, or they step into this unknown. And as they step into the unknown, they experience a teacher or guide. The teacher or guide helps them to understand that there's something different. And then this person goes through a series of tests. And actually, I'm going to pull up a hero's journey thing first. The person goes through a series of tests. As they go through the series of tests, what they find is that there's a person, or um, there's a being that they have to face, right? Actually, can I put it up here? Where's the hero's journey? Goddamn it! Oh, here we go. Um, so here, I'm gonna pull this up. Um, yeah. Oh, this is perfect. I'm really liking this thing because I can share. Riverside, bless up. Give us a sponsorship. God damn it. Man. Come on, man. Come on, man. All right, B. Just let me know when you can see it, man. All right,
All
for the
right.
peoples. All right. So
You're
listen.
good, bud.
So good. All right,
Yeah,
fresh.
man.
So here's where it is, right? So we go to like the call to adventure, right? And the refusal of the call. So I'm gonna bring this, like, one of my favorite movies is The Matrix. So The Matrix, Neo's sleeping in his room like, oh god, something's wrong. I hear this. I get a dream. Then he follows the White Rabbit, and then Trinity with their fine self is like, you gotta go see Morpheus. Now, of course, Neo refuses to call when he refuses to jump off of the freaking building, right? And he gets arrested, and then he ends up meeting his mentor. And Brian, in your situation, like what you how you described it, the pain teacher. The mentor could be a lot of things, party peoples.
Yeah.
It could be a therapist, it could be a mentor, it could be a guide, it could be your pain, it could be your depression, it could be your darkness. I think you get the gist. Now, after they go through this, they cross a threshold, right? So there's this part where it's like, they know that there's something different, but they get to cross this piece, or get to cross this threshold into a true unknown to experience it. Okay, this is a lot of times where that feeling of stuck get stuck because there's a courage and an energy that's needed to step into that unknown. Here's why: because as soon as you step into the unknown, there's a lot of tests that you're going to experience. Like when Morpheus is like, Neo, jump across the building, and Neo tried to jump, he was like, oh shit, boom, smacked up his head.
Hmm.
He had to learn, he had to go through the test until he knew that he was the one. He had to experience tests to have him understand that. Now here's the thing. It talks about approaching the dark dragon's den. People, when it comes to being stuck, the dragon's den is your darkness. Brian, one of the things I teach about in yoga and I teach men when I'm mentoring them is like the darkness is never anything to fear. It's the womb.
Yeah.
You didn't have a bunch of spotlights in your mama's belly and stuff.
Yeah. It's all
You
programmed
grew
in
in
us.
darkness.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's programmed in us to think darkness is bad. We can that pretty much goes back to religion. you know?
Right.
you know,
Right,
but
bro.
that's another podcast.
Yeah, we'll come back to that, people,
Yeah.
on another podcast. But like when you start to approach that, you realize when you start to look at that darkness, the thing that you face, the ordeal, is usually a part of yourself that you get to battle.
Hmm.
And we bring this up, and this is the key thing about being stuck, people. And B, let me know how your thoughts on this. That key piece of being stuck is you get to face a part of yourself. That part of yourself, like we were talking about, the part of yourself that's unique, the part of yourself that's ready to come out, the part of yourself that's freaking a star
Hmm.
from a part of yourself that is irreplaceable.
Yeah, definitely. You like I said, we said before, you need a lot of energy, so you need to set a good foundation. I think the biggest thing you need is a lot of courage. So, hero's journey, right? Like, listen, you're going to go through pain regardless. You're going
Yep.
to have ups and downs regardless. So, like in the first part, it says, right? You seek out adventure. Everyone's soul seeks out adventure. Everyone's souls. So for you to go on your own adventure, and this is the problem with today with conformity, like they try to program everybody to kind of be the same and be these good little soldiers and go and stay in line and don't step out of line. You always obey. That's basically like I mean, you watch anything on TV or social media. That's all it is.
Yep.
They're trying to program for you. And a lot of 99% of people are out there, they can't think on their own. So the moment you start want to go out on that hero's journey or you want to tap into something that your soul is kind of pushing you towards, you're going to take a lot of ridicule. You're going to have a lot of people that are going to be like, what are you doing? And the people that are going to give you a lot of ridicule are the ones that are going to love you most. It's going to be your family. It's going to be your significant other. It's going to be your friends that are close to you. Like, why are you doing that? Because they don't get it because
Yep.
they're on this linear path in life. And yeah, you're going to go through a lot of issues. You're gonna have your ups and downs, man. It's hills and valleys. I'm telling you. Like I made this decision probably like 15 years ago, and there's some times, man. I'm like, what the f am I doing, man? Like just get a cushy corporate job, get that steady paycheck, and just go with it. But ultimately, I know I made the right decision. But if you don't go through it, you're gonna start having resentment later on in life.
Yep.
You know, you
Yep.
have to again, it takes a lot of courage, and if you don't do it this lifetime, you're just going to have to repeat it in another lifetime until you kind of keep doing it.
Yep.
It's
Oh
all about
shit,
learning lessons. So and
brother.
sometimes maybe in this lifetime you're not courageous enough to kind of do that. But it's all in your head, man. It's all in your head.
It
That's not
is,
who you
man.
are. You got most people think too much of their head, man. They're not in their heart too much.
Again, power of the heart plug. Anyway,
Yeah.
but serious, man. Like B, you said something that I want to highlight. It's people will when you start going on when a person starts going on their path. Sometimes the people that love them the most will be the biggest distraction.
Yep.
And I want to highlight here. It's okay for that to happen because sometimes out of people's fear or like sometimes people out of their love for you will want to distract you because they have fears for you.
Yeah.
And the thing is that you may experience being stuck because you're attempting to follow someone else's timeline. Okay, there another person's timeline is far from yours. If you're trying to go on someone else's timeline, it's highly likely that you will experience being stuck.
Yeah.
You'll experience it
Oh yeah,
because
definitely.
they're not you.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: is like after you address that part of yourself, which is going to take energy and courageousness, like you mentioned, Brian. It's really it's seizing the treasure, which is you. Like the
Yeah.
thing about being stuck is that once a person can move through it, I think a reward of this is that they're reconnecting to a big part of themselves, and then
Definitely.
that begins an integration. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, Brian?
Yeah, you're looking at this wheel too, which is interesting. I haven't looked at this wheel in a while. So if you look at it as a clock, those are not listening. So if you look at like 2 o'clock, I guess that's the moment where people start like, all right, this is what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to start following my heart. I'm going to go on this hero's journey all the way into about 6 o'clock. That's where all the ridicule is going to come.
Yep.
You can hit rock bottom down there. What's 6 o'clock? I can't see my
The ordeal.
the ordeal. Yeah, it's basically the climax of the movie, right?
Yep.
And if you can just kind of get over that hump, after that, people are going to start like looking at you and be like, okay, he's doing his thing. By the time it gets to like 10, 11, 12 o'clock, that's when all your loved ones are going to be like, man, I didn't think you'd be able to do it, man. I'm so proud of you. Like, you're one of the most courageous people I know, and you're going to get all those accolades that you wish you would have got earlier. Because most people I think are jealous because, or they're scared because they don't have the courage to do it,
Speak
because
on it,
they've
bro.
been programmed since the very beginning to not step foot out of the line. So yeah, it takes a lot, and what you're going to see is that you're going to inspire a lot of people by following your heart. You know,
Yo, I'm about to. Man, I was about to start singing Roxette. I got it right this
you
time
got it
too.
right this time.
Dude, it's wild, man. So it's funny. Like part of my way to de stress is watching. And I'm gonna take this piece off right now as we
Mhm.
start to wind down. Part of my de stress is I like to watch movies. So I watched Creed the other day, Creed 3.
Oh yeah,
And I bring this up because you said like the movie, right? You said movie. And people, as you're watching this, the majority of movies that you really resonate with have the hero's journey. So watch if whenever you're feeling stuck, watch a movie like Rocky. Watch a movie like Star Wars. Shoot, hell, watch like a Marvel movie. Watch like a murder mystery. Like we can. I'm gonna speak for both of us here. We can damn sure guarantee that a portion of the hero's journey, if not all of it, will be in that movie because it's something that lives in all of us. This is what Joseph Campbell was talking about. The hero's journey is in all of us, man. It's that part of us that experiences the darkness and knows that there's fight in us to overcome.
that's why we all love those types of movies.
Bruh,
Even though we hate the villain, what kind of movie would it be without the villain?
without the villain, without the
you know,
villain,
I mean, the most boring movie ever.
right?
You need the villain in
Bruh,
there, and the
you
villain,
need the
yeah,
villain.
yeah.
It's like because chances are, like, here's the crazy thing, right? It's like after looking at this, I started to look at like, okay, how is that villain like me?
Hmm.
So it even meant even more when the freaking star of the show or the movie overcame the villain because it was telling me it's like, yo, I can overcome that part of myself.
What's interesting too, that kind of popped the thought in my head. If there's something you don't like about that villain, dude, that's in you. If you
Bruh!
have a strong emotional reaction to that villain, there's something in you. Otherwise, you wouldn't have that emotion. How can you express emotion in a emotional, what's the word? How am I trying to say it? How can you express something emotionally if you don't have it in you to set it up, to set it on
Spot it,
fire?
you got it.
You know what I mean?
Bryce. Amen, brother.
Yeah.
A
And people are like,
freaking
oh,
man,
I hate when
bro.
that person does this. Well, I got bad news for you. You probably have a little bit of that in you too if you have that much emotion towards it. So you get
Truth.
it's when you start getting into it, man. Like, and you start quieting the mind, and I don't know, man. Like I've done, like I said, I beat like a dead horse with all these plant ceremonies I do, and you don't realize how connected everything is. Everything that you, everything in front of you is it's a part of you somehow. You know, it could be any village in the world that has a connection to you, whether you realize it or not. You know, so you
Brother,
know,
this is dude, this is man, I gotta tell you, this episode, man, I have yet to know how this ranks up in my favorites right now, but like I really appreciate this conversation.
oh, me too, man.
Um because look, man, I one of the things why this conversation means a lot to me is because I recognize that a lot of people are stuck and they act as if everything is cool and they end up going down a very dark path. And
Yeah.
I see it when I talk to people in real life that I see on social media, and they act like everything like, hey, I'm in Stad and I'm here and this and
Uh-huh.
that. But then
Yeah.
when I'm seeing, they're like, yo,
Hmm.
my wife left me.
Yeah.
I'm struggling. And I'm like, bro, talk to me, man. How can I
Yeah.
support you, bro?
Yeah, it takes a if you, getting out of it, it takes a lot of vulnerability, man. But you gotta understand, like these people are in front of you. Not to get too spiritual, but you have soul contracts with people. You know, you have soul contracts with situations. You have soul contracts with certain circumstances, but definitely with people. Like you're meant to meet that person, and you're supposed to you're supposed to learn stuff from that person that's going to help you heal in a way, and that person is supposed to learn from you to help you heal in that way. You know, I believe that every single person in this world can teach you something. Every single person, be a homeless guy on the streets of Taiwan, some way, if you meet this guy, he'll have an impact on your life. You know, so be that this people we're all one, man. Be vulnerable, talk to everyone. Everyone's going through something. Everyone's been through something like you.
Brother. So, man, wow, damn, this just like really hit me, man. So as we wrap up, man, because Brian, we went over a lot of things. Like, what's a takeaway for the people watching and listening? Like, what's a takeaway you would either emphasize of over a takeaway from what we said already to emphasize, or something that we failed to bring up that you wanna offer the people before we wrap up, man?
Yeah, I mean, it goes it's basic, but it's very tough. Have a goal, have a dream, have something that you want. If you don't know what you want, you're not going to have the energy or the discipline to stick with it.
Yeah,
And know that you're going to have ups and downs when you're doing it.
yeah,
So prepare yourself for the downs. Have, you know, work on your sleep, work on your nutrition, get moving, get the exercise going. Work on your meditation, man. Get start if you don't meditate 10 minutes a day, like there's no reason not to.
bro.
You know, people think, oh, I don't have time to meditate because I'm not doing anything. You know, they think they got to always be doing something. You're doing a lot. You shutting down that brain, man, is going to help you through. It's going to make your life so much more efficient.
Dude,
It's going to make your life so much more efficient in the long run because you're not going to worry about stuff. You're not going to, be playing the victim role. You're not going to start, blaming other people. You're going to take responsibility for yourself, and answers will be given to you pretty quickly by your heart, by your soul. That's what I
bro.
got.
Man, B, thank you for that. And I'm gonna add one layer on top of that because I think this, like everything Brian said, the only layer I'm gonna add to that is have people that you can be vulnerable with, and have people that can hold you accountable.
Yeah.
And like, when I speak to men, I'm like, yo, man, it's not your wife or your girlfriend or your
Hmm.
spouse. Okay, it's not. That's not their job.
Yeah.
It's not their job. Like, if they want to be on the court and they're open to it, then okay, fine. And have those people in your life, because I'm telling you, Brian, you mentioned it's key to be able to be vulnerable in these situations and speak your mind in a judgment free space.
Yeah.
so you could be heard. Because a lot of times you may, when you start speaking this, you may already find your own solution. A
Hmm.
lot of times it's about having those people in your life that can keep and create that space for you. So bless up to you all. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, get us to our milestone of 100. This is
Yeah.
going to be our new campaign, goddammit. Get us to 100, okay? Get us there. Like, this, by you doing this, this helps get this information out to people, because I'm telling you, somebody was, you, by you hitting the like and you hitting subscribe, that algorithm is going to increase, and someone that needs this, like how you may or may not, they'll get it.
Yeah.
They'll
100%.
get it. So bless up to you all, Brian. You know how we do. Bless up to you always, King.
Love it, man.
My God, I love
Bless
you
up.
too, bro. Peace, everybody.
Peace,
We're
everyone.
out.